I'd like to call the Planning and Zoning Board agenda and the meeting for June 17th. It's our regular meeting, and first thing we'll do, we're going to have a roll call. Madam Secretary, if you would go ahead with the roll call.
Francis.
Present.
Delacus. Absent. Gialusa. Absent. Staropoulos.
Here.
St. Arnold. Here. Vincent.
Here.
And Clark. Absent.
Okay, thank you. The minutes have been deferred, and they will be brought up later. So we're going to go ahead with the quasi-judicial announcement by our attorney.
This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the board acts in a quasi-judicial capacity. It's the board's function at the hearing to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to criteria that have already been established in the Code of Ordinances so they can make a legal decision regarding the application. The board may only consider evidence that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues arising from the application and the applicable codes. If that evidence demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinances, then the board is required to find in favor of the applicant. Conversely, if the evidence demonstrates the applicant has failed to meet the criteria, then the board is required by law to find against the applicant. The parties to this hearing are the applicant and the city, and the city is represented by Mr. Chapman here. Are there anybody want to be an intervener? Does anybody want to be an intervener? No, you're the applicant. Okay. Well, I think I can skip the intervener.
Right.
Yeah.
There's an established procedure that will be followed at this hearing. All witnesses must give their testimony under oath. All persons testifying at the hearing must give their name and address for the record. All testimony and questioning must address matters that are relevant material to the issues under consideration. City staff will go first and present its testimony and evidence. The applicant will then have an opportunity to cross-examine city staff if you care to. The applicant will then have an opportunity to make a presentation by offering testimony, witnesses, or evidence. And Mr. Chapman will have an opportunity to cross-examine you if necessary. Absent unusual circumstances to be determined by the board, this opening statement and presentation should be limited to approximately 10 minutes. At that point, we proceed to the public comment portion of the meeting where members of the public have an opportunity to present testimony. First, we hear from members of the public opposing the application, and after they've finished, any members of the public who support the application have an opportunity to present testimony. Each member of the public is limited to 4 minutes of testimony. I don't see a lot of public, so I assume I can skip the donation of time section. Following public comment, the applicant and city staff have an opportunity to present any rebuttal evidence and make a closing argument or summary. The applicant goes first, followed by city staff. Absent unusual circumstances to be determined by the board, a party's closing summary and rebuttal evidence should be limited to 10 minutes. At that point, the board will consider the matter. At this point, I would ask anybody who intends to testify, that means go up and speak at the microphone, I think that means you, to raise your right hand and take the following oath. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Okay, we have affirmations all around. Are there any conflicts of interest or ex parte communications that need to be disclosed? No. There are none. Mr. Chairman? I need to inform you, ma'am, that the rules adopted by the Planning and Zoning Board state that if less than a full board is present, and we're missing a member here.
Oh, we got one now. Mr. Delacus just came in. So
he's an alternate? Aren't we missing?
No.
Aren't we?
We're missing Gialusa.
We're still missing
3, 4, 5. We have 5.
Yeah, but we're missing a member.
Yeah, we're missing a permanent member.
Oh, yeah.
So if the rules say that if less than a full board is present, you can defer. You have the opportunity to defer your application until it can be heard by the full board. if you want to, or if you want to go ahead with the members present, that's fine. No, if we go ahead tonight, their decision is the final decision. In other words, they can vote on the matter.
Yes, there's a majority.
Sure.
Yes, you can still go on tomorrow night, regardless of which way we vote. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Jacobon?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Yes, okay. First, we're going to ask for a staff report. Mr. Chapman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is application 13-26. It's a conditional use for retail in the T4C district. Property is located at 311 North Safford Avenue. Just a little background. Property is 15,000 square feet and includes an existing commercial building and an off-street parking lot with 4 spaces. The building has a little over 1,000 square feet of retail area and a 2,450 square foot storage area to the rear. The building was constructed in 1998 and was most recently the location of Landmark Awards, which was a permitted use in the old intensive business zoning district, which covered this area before we adopted the SMART code. The applicant is proposing to convert the use of the property to a retail establishment that specializes in antiques and consignment items. In your backup, you'll see that the applicant describes the use as a retail store that carries furniture and home decor items. And the applicant would also sell consignment items and hold auction-style events 2 nights per month. The applicant also indicates that the business will be open Wednesday through Monday from 9 to 5, and you have a description of the retail activities in your backup. The use, as you see in your staff report, meets the definition of retail as defined in the SMART code. As far as standards for review, we determined that it does conform with the requirements of the code. You see that under the restricted building function, it allows for retail on the first floor of buildings at corner locations. The property is on a corner at East Cypress and North Safford, and is a single-story building. Code requires 3 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of net retail space, and they have 4 spaces in the lot. And it's our determination that the applicant's request meets the requirements contained in the code and the SMART code and the land development code. We've also determined that the use is appropriate and compatible with existing and planned uses in the area. As most of you know, the surrounding properties are a mix of commercial and residential uses. And we are hopefully soon wrapping up the North Safford Avenue beautification project. And again, the intent of that project was to encourage private investment and the redevelopment of the underutilized properties in this area of the city. We've also determined that the application is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. You have the description of this particular area as referenced in the special area plan, and again, the intent is to encourage redevelopment of underutilized properties, and we feel that this request is consistent with that. We've also determined that it would not have adverse impacts to environmental or historical resources. It would not adversely affect adjoining property values. The city has the ability to provide public facilities to the property, and we feel that it will have a positive impact upon the future growth patterns along this section of North Safford Avenue. TRC reviewed it at the April 11th meeting, and you see the comments there in your staff report. We've also performed the required public notice for the application and have not received any inquiries to date. Therefore, the staff recommendation is to approve the conditional use for retail for the property located at 311 North Safford Avenue with the following conditions. 1, no more than 2 auction-style events shall be permitted per month. And 2, the city reserves the right to reevaluate the auction portion of the business in terms of parking and access, should it become problematic in the future, and that reevaluation process will be done through another conditional use application. You have a photograph of the site as well as a description of the use, of proposed use by the applicant. You have a zoning map, an aerial photo, a map of the zoning for the area as well as a character district map. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with Mr. Arnold. Do you have any questions for staff at this time?
No questions.
Mr. Vincent?
I have none.
Mr. Zalakis?
Both Mr. Chapman and Mr. Jacobone, with regards to number 2 on the staff recommendation with the right to reevaluate, if the conditional use is for retail sales, because one of my things I kind of had a question about before would be that if they want to quote-unquote have these auctions, is there actually another permitting process for them that they would have to go through for the city to have that? Otherwise, I don't see why it wouldn't be considered a normal part of their style or choice of business, such that, I guess I'm trying to say is how can we, what the conditional use is for retail.
Mm-hmm.
Is there another permitting process that they would need to go through to do auctions of what they're saying? Maybe she just used the word auction, and maybe it's not like we're thinking of as Barker and all that. I don't know. But is there a process within the city that they would have to go through for permitting for that?
No.
How about you, Mr. Jacobone? Are you familiar with anything of that nature?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so if we just say in general, you can have 2 of these quote-unquote outdoor auction events, I would assume the city would have other avenues that they normally would have available to them through any business type if there were nuisances by their retail actions. So I guess why I'm wondering is why we need to put 2 in if we just say no more than 2 are in, and let the normal course of business dictate if the city has to do anything else other than us saying, well, we're going to... I know, technically, I guess the city always has that right, right, Mr. Jacobone?
If a thing becomes a nuisance.
Right. So I guess my concern is, I don't know, why we have to put that kind of language in there. And if you can speak to the mic so we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I think this is a particularly appropriate use of the conditional use process. First of all, I think retail sales, I think the common conception of that is, one or a few customers coming in and buying on a one-on-one basis, whereas auction-type sales, to me, denotes or connotes a group of people bidding on an item. So, the conditional use process really is a way to tailor a lawful application that may have the potential for some negatives in the way of its operation. Tailoring that to overcome those negatives or deal with it. And I would anticipate, I'm speaking for Rodney here, that the anticipation is, the potential issue is, on an auction night, you could have, 100 people down there with parking issues and things like that. So I guess it seems to be particularly appropriate to deal with this, as a condition of the conditional use. From a functional standpoint, it's a lot easier to anticipate a potential problem. I'm not saying there will be one, and deal with it on a conditional use basis than trying to prove a nuisance, which is complicated and expensive.
Okay. Well, I just kind of wanted to get a feel for if it was absolutely necessary that the city wouldn't have availability to do what you're saying you want the city to do without having to overly restrict it in a sense. Because I can also see where a restaurant one Friday a month can auction off a bouzouki if you come in and eat there and spend $30 and get a ticket, and next thing you know, you got 200 cars there, and so that's a normal course of business maybe for them too. So I don't know. Maybe we'll hear more from the applicant and get a better feel for what they're planning.
If a bouzouki is illegal, then we could certainly go after
a
whatever
bouzouki, not
not a bazooka.
not a bazooka. The instrument, the little ding, 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 ding.
Mr. Stavropoulos, do you have any questions?
No questions at this time.
Rodney, on this, they were talking about selling food, and is there any permit for that, or is anything going to be cooked on the premises, or?
No, my understanding it's all going to be kind of prepackaged items.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? We'll hear from the applicant. If you'll give us your name and address when you come up to the lectern, please.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Scudero. My address is 1419 Florida Avenue in Palm Harbor. Zip is 34683. This is my partner, Nancy Cooper. I'm Nancy Cooper. I live at 305 Woodchuck Avenue in Tarpon Springs, 34689.
Okay, you guys have 10 minutes to go ahead and give us a presentation.
Basically, what we are doing or planning to do is, I know Rodney knows, and probably the rest of you know, that we also have Off the Beaten Path, which is across the street from the proposed new store. And we are planning to do furniture and home decor, again, resale items, and some consignment items. As far as the auctions, we discussed it, and after reevaluating it, that process is going to be on hold. And I know Rodney said that the parking fell within the square footage, and that was fine in the smart code. Because I am the proprietor of the business across the street, parking can be used on that lot as well for pistachios, so I don't ever anticipate that being a problem. We had great success with Off the Beaten Path, and I think it was a nice addition to the trail aesthetically, and I believe that the new store is also going to be a nice addition. And I'm excited about the trail. It's looking beautiful. They're putting the trees in, and I see a lot of growth in Tarpon. I'm excited about it, and I'm excited about getting this process started.
Okay. Nancy, did you want to make any comments?
No, that we've been working very hard to make the shop very pretty on the outside. We've done some plantings and painted the outside, just around the windows and such. It's an aluminum building, so it couldn't do too much with it, but we've been trying to aesthetically make it look better, and I think it's going to be an asset. It's kind of like Off the Beaten Path, and we've had a lot of excitement with the customers, people stopping in already, wanting to know when we're going to open, so there's already a little bit of a buzz. People excited about it, so positive, very positive. Very positive.
That's good. Okay. Questions? Mr. Stavropoulos, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, just one brief question. What is the proximity, the distance between your current store, the Off the Beaten Path, and this one we're discussing now?
As far as square footage, Rodney could probably...
distance-wise.
It's across the street. It's across Cypress Avenue. It's on one corner, and the other store would be on the opposite corner.
Oh, the old Charlie's.
I don't know, right here.
Yeah.
The old Charlie's store.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Stavropoulos wasn't on the board when that application came in.
All right, I know exactly where it is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Delagus, any other questions?
No,
feel she answered our issue about the auctions, and let's just for the board's and the public's clarification, if you were to do an auction or however you're contemplating this, just tell us in general what it would be or what would be going on, so they would have maybe some comfort level that, you know, it's not a scary thing what you're proposing.
Well, if it does come to life in the future, it would be a normal auction where, yes, several people would be bidding on an item. They would have paddles.
Would you be holding the auction, or are you actually having a
We would be
professional
holding
auctioneer coming in and doing a full-blown auction of all your material in the building? I mean, so is it just somebody, you know, so fill us in as to, if you're doing an auction, you know.
We would have several items set aside for the auction, and we would have to hire a licensed auctioneer. So, no, we would not be doing the auctions physically ourselves.
Is that inside the building where you have the storage?
We're going to use the first day for retail space, as well as
You
the
said
store.
there's some, I was looking in here, and there's some storage that you have, like 2,450 square foot storage area.
We
So
have.
I was wondering, are you going to hold the auction outside?
That's where we were going to. If we had the auctions, we were going to have them in that first day.
In the what?
In the bay.
I can clarify, Stephanie. If you look at the photograph, you'll see along the left side of the building there are 3 bay doors behind the palm trees. That's when she's referring to the bays. That's what she's talking about.
Okay, and where would the people be? Inside or?
They would be inside.
Oh, okay. That's what I was trying to find
Yes,
out.
sir.
Okay. And the parking is kind of limited there. I mean, you've got some parking across. How many spots do you have across the street?
Probably 50 to 75 on that field.
50?
Yes, sir. It's a very big parking lot or
Okay.
lawn area.
Okay. Mr. Vincent?
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Arnold, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak against this application? Come forward, please, and let us have your name and address when you get to the lectern, please.
Ma'am, I need to swear you in first. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
You want to get close to the mic.
My name is Janet Norwell, and I live at 357 North Ring Village, Tarpon Springs. I have a comment to make. It's a red barn type of building. Am I correct? That aluminum red part? Well, it's been very upsetting to me because I walk by there just 3-4 times a week. I go by there every day, and there's always garbage out there, and I just don't understand it. I mean, I'm glad they're not open yet. Maybe that's partly the problem, but there's old TVs all in back of the building, and there's black garbage bags that sit out there for weeks. There's leaves. They keep cutting down the leaves, and they sit there without being picked up for about a month. There was a whole bunch of leaves that were just sitting out there. I just don't understand it, but I find it very, the buildings are beautiful. Well, that building's always been there, the one, the red one, but there's these old TV sets. They're not selling them. I think the TVs nobody wants, and they're just throwing them out, hoping somebody picks them up. I just don't understand, but I think the place looks like a mess, and I'm just very upset about it. And that's all I have to say. I should have taken pictures, but I had no idea this meeting was even going to take place. But as usual, I just happened to be going by, and I saw the sign about the meeting, so I decided to just come here and say this, that I just don't understand the garbage problem at all. I wish I'd taken pictures. Maybe I can for tomorrow's meeting if there's another meeting tomorrow, but it's very unsightly. Thank you.
Do you have a question for her? Yes, ma'am, let's go say there, a second. Ma'am, have you made any, complaint to the code enforcement, officer here in town about?
No, I didn't.
Because it sounds like, your complaint sounds like, maybe a code enforcement issue.
It is a code enforcement issue.
Our jurisdiction here is to talk about the use of the building or the proposed use of it.
Oh, and you have nothing to do with that part of it.
It's really not related to it, especially if they haven't opened yet, but it sounds like.
Yeah, they haven't opened yet too,
Sounds like
which
it's
I
a code
wasn't aware of.
enforcement issue that, you may want to, I think if you call the police department, they'll get you the right number, or if you look it up.
Code enforcement in the telephone book, I guess, or whatever. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak against? You, okay. Please come forward. Let us have your name and address.
You also have to take an oath before you testify. You swear affirm the testimony you'll give be the truth, all truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. How you doing, board? I can respect her comments. When we did off the beaten.
You need your name and address.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it comes off of that.
Paul Strope, 1419 Florida Avenue, Palm Harbor. My wife and I started off the beaten path. I can respect what she had to say. We run very clean, very good-looking stores. It took us 4 months to get off the beaten path off the ground, between cleaning up the garbage, 2-3 foot weeds, bags of stuff. Just had a contractor in yesterday, trimmed up 8 or 9 palm trees. Got them all tied, labeled the way they're supposed to be picked up on Thursday. Our new store, Pistachios, we've been going 2.5 months straight. Turned a building that looked pretty much the same. It was still a commercial-looking building, but we've done a lot of work, 12, 14 hours a day, all 4 of us, for the past 2 months. And my wife and I, matter of fact, had our first day off on Sunday for the first time in 9 months. So as far as the aesthetics of the building, the TV, stuff like that, we buy estate sales. We're cleaning the place out. But for the most part, if you know our building off the beaten path, that is the way we roll in business. It's very clean every single day, garbage pickup. So I can respect what she had to say, but we're opening up a store, and it's a lot of work. And we do have pickup in both buildings, Mondays and Thursdays, with Thursday's debris, all tied up the way it should be. So I just want to make that known. I mean, you guys probably know the buildings, Rodney, everybody else. We run a really clean business. And I'll take this quick opportunity to say thank you to Rodney, Gary, a lot of people in the city. A lot of people, they say they come to City Hall and they deal with this and deal with that. My wife and I, when we opened up off the beaten path, it was a struggle. But you know what? Bottom line, everybody was good people from day one. Everyone from Gary, who takes care of the trail, to the new park ranger coming up. We're excited. We love Tarpon. And, I just want to give kudos to a lot of people on the board that we've met over the past year. Renee, Gary, Anthony, everybody down the road. Chief Kinney, the chief of police, everybody. Especially Rodney and Gary, they did well overboard. After I was pounding in signs, giving us a hard time. No, they didn't. But that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Is this material that she was talking about on your lot, or is it on
Yeah,
the next lot?
No, it's our lot. We're cleaning the place out.
Okay, so
we
you're
actually
in the process of...
Yeah, for the past
getting
3
things
weeks,
up.
we've had our vendors coming in. We've been painting, ripping out a lot of the old stuff that was there, just debris that's been laying around, and we're bagging it up and cleaning up the outside, shrubbery, stuff like that. So that's all that is.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you.
The applicant, you've got a opportunity for a rebuttal. Is there anything you want to say, or... He's covered it. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay, I think I'm going to have a seat, please. I'm going to close the polling portion of the meeting and entertain a motion for this application.
I'll make a motion that we accept application -13-26 Pistachios Antiques the way it is written.
No, second the motion.
Then, discussion?
Just want to clarify, when you say as written, you mean with staff recommendations?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I don't mind limiting to 2 a month, but if we don't have any rules to say how you have to quote unquote run an auction in Tarpon Springs, I don't see why we need to have a threat over them that we're going to be coming and reserving the right when we technically have that right already. But I don't want to be a hard ass here, so we'll go. I had to say that.
Anything else? Okay. Call for the question. Roll call.
Mr. Delacus?
Yes.
Mr. Strava-Lapus?
Yes.
Ms. Ian Arnold?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
And Chairman Francis?
Yes. Best of luck to you. Okay.
You as well.
Okay, I think it's Mr. Chapman's.
Just quickly, let's see here. I included in your backup a copy of Ordinance 2013-10. It's basically an oath that the city clerk will be administering to the board next month. Basically, the oath is required for all members of advisory and quasi-judicial boards, and you see the text of it there. And again, it was just a heads up to let you know the commission had adopted this ordinance, and that the city clerk will be here next month to have you guys take the oath.
Okay. Is it standard across Florida? I mean, is it?
It's something, yes, that most municipalities may have, and the commission thinks it's good that the city's boards take this oath.
Is this the same oath that they take? I don't think there is a standard oath.
No, but I mean they, meaning our board of our commissioners here.
No, actually, there is a statutory oath for commissioners, for elected officials.
Okay.
I just thought when I learned that you didn't take an oath.
Well, we serve at their pleasure. They can remove us anytime they want.
I just thought it was odd that, I mean, you exercise a quasi-judicial function here. If you're an official of the city, it just seemed appropriate that you take an oath to do good. Boy Scouts do it. Cub Scouts do it.
Well, I don't have an objection to the oath. I certainly support all that. So it's not an issue. I was just curious, if they take the same oath that they want us to take.
If I may.
Rodney, does this mean we're going to get more money for our hourly wage?
If I may.
Yes, Mr. Georges.
Well, I want to follow up a little bit on Mr. Vincent's comment there as far as taking an oath. I don't have a problem with taking an oath. I'm just kind of curious about that last sentence having been added in as to an oath, and I know that goes way back from Ms. Beverly being mayor and having a civility oath and quote-unquote issues with them on various board members having, issues with board members. So I don't see where, I'll swear to it, but I don't see where it's going to really make any difference in how their mindset is. I mean, are we now going to be monitored like 5-year-olds in kindergarten, and if we don't behave, and Mr. Armstrong, I know some of this started with the BOA and all that stuff, but some of the applicants, y'all worry about them being scared off. They're big boys. They've been fighting big wars, bigger than the Tarpon Springs Planning and Zoning Board or the Tarpon Springs BOA. That the people up there all worried that we, an advisory board, are going to scare off.
I would just say, Mr. Black, that if you have
I can't hear you, please.
If you have comments about the ordinance, I would recommend that you talk to the mayor and the commission who approved it.
Actually, this is our time to comment on it, isn't it?
Well, your comments are based on why is it necessary to have the oath. And again,
No, I agree to the oath. My concern is the addition of the last sentence in.
Like 5-year-olds, and so obviously, I, as your staff person, I'm not the one that is monitoring nor.
No, I know you're not, Rodney. You're good. We're cool with you. It's not you. It's the big BOC.
As I said, if you have comments on the ordinance, I would suggest you direct them to the mayor and the board of commissioners.
Well, just want to put it on record that we will try to be courteous, treat people with integrity and respect, but I also feel we have a responsibility here to protect Tarpon. And if at some point it takes a little snarl or something, I'm sorry, I'm going to apologize ahead of time. But to me, that's my main mission in regard here on the
I'm a short timer, so actually you do not have a responsibility to protect Tarpon. The
No?
commissioners have a responsibility to protect Tarpon. Your job is to function as a quasi-judicial, neutral member to hear evidence and make decisions.
On some issues. Some are legislative. Some are legislative.
You don't, when you do your legislative review, you're not questioning witnesses. But when you're sitting quasi-judicially, it's not really your job to protect the citizens. Well, that's an overstatement. You protect the citizens by performing your quasi-judicial function honestly in an unbiased fashion, applying the criteria established by the board to the evidence heard here.
Correct.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, I think that's different than
but if
we
I
have an
feel
obligation to protect the citizens.
Yes, but the reason why, and I'll say here now, the reason sometimes I do get more aggressive is because I sometimes feel the applicants are not being totally honest with us in some regards. And if I sense that, I will question and interrogate within the bounds and boundaries of the rules we're giving and the civility of the decorum that we're expected to provide to our applicants. Thank you.
Okay, we have any other staff comments at this time? So, do we have to vote on this or just for our information?
Yeah, it's already
Okay.
It's already enacted.
It's already done. Okay. Okay. Any other staff comments? Board comments? Mr. Carr. Okay. I didn't see you come in. You have any board comments? Okay.
I have a quick comment. I drive up and down Tarpon Avenue quite a bit. And the city spent a lot of money, and I guess it's grant money, I don't know if it's their own money, when we did all those bump outs and all those things to slow traffic down. They got fancy names for them. Rodney knows all those names. To calm the traffic, I guess is what they call it, actually to slow it down. But now that the beautification and all that's done, we see springing up all along there these ugly signs with flashing things about this is your speed and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't seen any of those in the plans when we're in the planning process. But I think it's detracting from the beauty. And, I mean, you've already slowed down the traffic by putting all these things in the middle of the street, putting these bump outs on there, making the road real narrow that you can't go very fast. Why do they have to put up that stuff?
Good
Do
question.
they have just money to spend, burning a hole in their pocket?
No, absolutely not. The commission had directed our engineering folks to look at intersection safety, particularly the intersection at Safford and Tarpon. And part of that review process dealt with performing a speed study. Our police department set out sensors for a 24-hour period to gauge vehicular speed along that section of Tarpon Avenue. And what they found was, even though the speed limit was posted at, 35 miles an hour, they clocked people going 60 down Tarpon Avenue, in both directions, eastbound and westbound. And so when the commission was presented that information, they chose to develop a set of traffic calming measures to further reduce the speed of traffic. And what they directed us to do was look at ways to further calm traffic and do it in such a way where you're not adding any additional signage. And I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the radar speed assembly signs that flash your speed were those signs there replaced the old speed limit signs. So there were no new signs that were placed on that section of road. Those signs were put there to give motorists an indication of how fast they were going, because the belief is people don't always drive, especially down constrained corridors, looking at the speedometer. So that gives them the ability to realize that they are traveling through a downtown area and they need to slow down, and they can do that while keeping their eyes on the road. You're right, it wasn't part of the beautification DOT project. It was actually a separate project that the commission initiated that really dealt with intersection safety there at Tarpon and Safford. And I think that's about it on that one. But it did.
Okay, well, I understand at the trail. I read the article in the newspaper and they're talking about the study and all that. But it seems like there's a couple additional areas where they put those flashing signs.
Yes, and again, those replace the old speed limit.
It just seems like, we beautify it, and then within, a year or so, we've got stuff we're putting up all over there, and it's hiding the beautification. It's just my comment. It seems like it's frustrating and discouraging when we try to make efforts, to make the city beautiful, and then we do it, and then I don't know who comes up with the ideas to put all these things up that sort of detract from it.
Actually, that was the actual whole intersection safety and speeding through downtown was from a lot of the business owners in that 100 block of Tarpon Avenue.
I think it was Rodney's idea.
Okay, well, that's my comment. Thank you.
Anybody else? Entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.